commotion. Baseball fans falling over each other in an attempt to grab a ball that had just been hit into the stands. A fairly standard, if a bit undignified, display at a game. But this was not just any old home run. It was hit by the American Major League star, the Japanese player Shohei Ohtani. And it's just sold, the ball that is, for more than $4 million. Here's Mickey Bristow.
This player, this Japanese man, 30 years old, Shohei Ohtani, is perhaps the biggest player in baseball in America at the moment. Just to give you an indication of how important a player he is, he recently signed a 10-year deal with his team, LA Dodgers, for $700 million. And I think that's the highest sporting contract there's been for anyone ever in the world. So that's just an indication of how valuable a player he is. In this particular case, yes, you mentioned that this year he's become the first player in Major League Baseball to score 50 home runs and steal 50 bases. That's when a player moves from one base to another without anything else happening in the play. Nobody else has done that before. He's also a pitcher, so he also throws the ball now. To be a hitter and a pitcher, those are very specialist task. To be able to do both is a real phenomenal achievement, to do it at such a high level. So that's why he's a valuable player. That's why anything he touches, anything associated with him, is so valuable too.
And $4 million was the sale price, a bit more in fact. And there's controversy over who was actually legally able to sell it.
Yeah, the controversy started almost as soon as he hit that ball on the 50th home run. You can see video taken by people in the stands as the ball sails into the stands. It lands on the floor, it rolls under seats, and there's an almighty scramble bordering on a fight, really, to get hold of the ball. A few people thought they had it. Then someone came up with it in their hand. Immediately, or the next day, he put that up for sale through this auction house. But then there was a legal dispute because some of the people who thought they'd had the ball, first of all, they claimed it was rightfully theirs. It was resolved when the auction house itself stepped in. The person who runs the auction house said, look, if there's a legal dispute over this ball, it's not going to be worth nearly as much because nobody's going to want to buy it when the ownership is in doubt. So that seemed to concentrate minds. People got together. The dispute was resolved. The sale went ahead. And as you say, it was sold for $4.4 million. So I'm presuming a certain number of fans are going to share that money. So this is a story not just about baseball. It's also a story about money.
Mickey Bristow, a white leather ball and a wooden bat. It's been played in roughly its current form since the 1880s. But with the 2025 season now underway, Major League Baseball could be on the brink of a drastic change. A handful of players have had great success with a new shaped bat. It is believed to be the first significant evolution in bat design for more than 100 years. Peter Goffin has been looking into the science behind what's being called the torpedo bat.
The crack of the bat is as timeless a part of baseball as the roar of the crowd and the smell of hot dogs in the bleachers. The shape of the traditional bat seemed, at least, to be optimal for making solid contact with the ball. The type of whack that launches home runs and makes that satisfying snapping sound. But to start the 2025 season, 5 members of the New York Yankees have been swinging a very different piece of lumber, developed by a physics professor turned professional baseball coach. The new torpedo bat is shaped like a bowling pin. Instead of starting narrow at the grip and widening into a straight cylinder like a standard bat, it bulges at the sweet spot. That's the ideal point on the bat for making contact with the ball. And then it tapers to a narrower top. It seems to work. Those 5 Yankees have hit a combined 9 home runs in their first 3 games of the year. Staggering numbers. So what's the science behind this potentially potent new piece of equipment? DJ Pisano is a professor of astronomy and physics at the University of Cape Town, who's written about the mechanics of baseball. He says the key to hitting home runs, on paper at least, is to strike a fine balance between the mass of your bat and the speed of your swing.
So what you're trying to do really is to swing the heaviest thing you can at the fastest speed you can to make contact with the ball. If you picked up a 10-pound iron rod, which is not a legal bat, you would have a hard time controlling the end of that as you're trying to swing it. Similarly, if you picked up a fishing rod, you could swing it, but you're not going to make very good contact.
With that bulge near the middle and the narrow top, the torpedo bat maximizes mass where it hits the ball, without adding unnecessary weight that could slow down a swing. And it moves the center of mass, where the bat would naturally balance, closer to the contact point, improving the transfer of momentum from bat to ball. Of course, this all comes with a caveat.
You couldn't hand me a torpedo bat and send me out onto a major league playing field and have me hit a home run.
For the
ultimately, it does come down to the player swinging that bat. And if they feel better with it, then it probably is going to work better for them.
So the bat doesn't work miracles.
Big dumper engaged.
But baseball players around the world will be watching the Yankees' home run totals closely this season.
All right, come on.
And maybe picking up torpedo bats of their own.
Peter Goffin reporting. And that's all from us for now, but there will be a new edition of the Global News Podcast later. If you want to comment on this podcast or the top
organisms like us.
That was James Gallagher. The world-famous basketball star LeBron James and his son Bronny James have become the first ever father-son duo to play together on the same NBA team. It all happened when the Los Angeles Lakers took on the Phoenix Suns in a pre-season game. Bronny came on in the second quarter on his 20th birthday to play along with his father for around 4 minutes, to the joy of some and the consternation of others. Lindsay Dunn, an NBA reporter for City News Toronto, spoke to my colleague Andrew Peach.
It's a moment kind of that we all didn't think would happen, but you've been waiting to see happen. And we thought maybe it would have happened on Friday, but that moment, like you mentioned, when he checked in, it was electric. And, LeBron and Bronny both were very stoic about the moment. But after LeBron just said it was a surreal moment. Like I've seen for years, I've been covering LeBron James's career. I saw Bronny sitting courtside when he was just a kid. So the fact that he's now playing with his father, an unbelievable historic moment for even the LeBron haters out there. He's just seeing a father and son live out their dream together. It was actually quite magical in the sports world.
I imagine the haters are all saying, "Oh, it was all engineered to get us talking about it now."
Oh, absolutely. Like, I'll be honest, when you look at it, Bronny James, it's like take your kid to work day. If his dad wasn't LeBron James, he wouldn't have been drafted the way that he is. He wouldn't be playing for the Los Angeles Lakers. He is a great basketball player, but yes, his dad did help orchestrate getting him to where he is. Even the Golden State Warriors said they wanted to draft him, but they honored LeBron's wish and letting him get drafted by the Lakers.
Okay, so the haters have that view. Meantime, what about the fans? Do they really love it?
Oh, honestly, it's 50-50 because there are a lot of haters. But in one sense, people are just excited to see what he can do. So half of the fans are really excited for that. They're excited to see, a kid play with one of the best NBA players of all time. And then the other half, they just hate it because they're like, hey, it's Nepo baby happening right now.
Right. Is there any chance that he's, better than everyone thinks, basically?
Oh, I'll be a realist. It's no. I've been covering basketball for 18 years, and the expectations are so high, and people thinking he could be like his dad. At best, he'll be a great bench player, and he'll be spending a lot of time, especially this year, with the Lakers development team. He may get a couple buckets, but it was like father, like son yesterday. They both had turnovers within a couple minutes of each other. But yeah, he probably will live up to the expectations, which are those of the ones that think he'll just be an okay basketball player. Right. He will not have the career his dad does.
Will this sort of partnership thing, will it ever happen again? Will they be like engineering further moments of this because of all the publicity it gets, or are we done with it now?
I think people are definitely going to try to do it. So many fathers within the NBA that I've spoken to, they're like, this is a dream to play with their kids, but we will not see it at this level. Whether or not you like LeBron James, the history books show he is one of the best ever played. So the fact that his kid is on the court with him is really a once-in-a-lifetime situation that I don't think we will see again, especially at this caliber of a player.
No pressure, Bronny. That was Lindsay Dunn. wrestling match, but with the traditional canvas ring replaced by thick, sticky mud. That's soft ground wrestling, also known as SGW. In Uganda, young men and women are turning this homegrown version of WWE into a global sensation, boasting almost 500 million online views. But while the popularity is soaring, challenges around safety and funding remain. BBC Sport Africa's Kelvin Kimati has been in Mukono, a town near Kampala, to meet some wannabe stars.
Here in Mukono, there's a special atmosphere whenever these mud wrestlers come out to fight. Even without the bright lights, big screens and spectator stands, the wrestlers here can still drive a crowd wild. And these fans can't get enough of it.
It's very good. They are our people. We love what they do.
I really like wrestling. I grew up watching WWE.
But it's not all glamour and adulation. Soft ground wrestling can really live up to its name. Training can be tough and wet. The majority of the wrestlers here are orphans or were raised by a single parent. There are no salaries. They survive on donations. 23-year-old Jordan Lovrin is one of Soft Ground's big stars.
Wrestling has given me hope after dropping out from school. Wrestling have given me a new family. You meet different people and different minds. Wrestling have given me the future dreams. So I hope to become a great wrestler and gain a lot of things from wrestling, such as money, fame, to help others.
More than 100 young Ugandans aged 25 or under make up this wrestling team in Mukono. And they are not all men. Just under a third of these wrestlers are women, and Zampi is among them.
Before Soft Ground, I was somehow a bad girl. It helped me control my anger. Soft Ground means a lot. It's actually my whole entire life. It has helped me a lot mentally and physically.
Zampi and her fellow wrestlers also enjoy a huge following online, thanks to Daniel Bumbash, a wrestling commentator and the man behind this growing phenomenon. In just 2 years, he's built up a loyal following, translating American wrestling clips into local dialects.
Social media has helped me to get fighters from different places that I even don't know because of exposure with these viral videos that are going on everywhere.
With over 500 million views across different digital platforms, Soft Ground has gained the attention of some of wrestling's biggest American stars, including WWE's Cody Rhodes, who sent the Ugandans their own ring. But while the ring is a welcome new addition, it's not everyone's first choice, as Zampi explains.
I still love the professional ring, but I prefer wrestling the mud ring because it defines the African way.
Despite growing popularity, safety is a big concern for these wrestlers. Even though the fights are entirely scripted and choreographed, they must train for 8 months before they are allowed to compete. Here's commentator Daniel Bumbash again.
Safety has been a hurdle for us because we do not have an ambulance, we don't have a sick bay and medicine in some cases to treat these young fighters in case of any accident. However, we have a volunteer doctor who helps us in case of any emergency.
Despite such obstacles and skepticism from some, Jordan says these wrestlers will continue to fight for their future.
My dream is to represent Uganda as a professional and help others to fulfill their dreams.
The ground might be soft, but these young fighters are certainly not, as they attempt to use their growing popularity to help change their lives.
That report by Kelvin Kimathi.
Encephalopathy have written an open letter to the government. They insist that it should become mandatory for anyone who's played contact sport to be checked for the disease when they die. CTE, which is a form of dementia, is linked to repetitive head trauma and can cause mood changes and aggression. These families believe heading footballs killed their loved ones. The condition is also being researched in other countries. Last year, a study from Boston University in the US discovered more than 60 cases of CTE in athletes who were under the age of 30 at the time of their death. Meanwhile, some of the widows of British ex-footballers diagnosed with CTE have spoken to our sports correspondent, Natalie Perks. Here's some of what they told her.
I said to him, I've got to go to A&E. I've hurt my neck. He says, have you? How have you done that? I said, I don't know, darling, I don't know how I've done it, but I've got to go to A&E, you'll have to come with me. I sat him on a chair and I went to the desk. Sorry. I said, my husband's got dementia and he's attacked me and I don't know what to do. And it was all systems go. They moved so fast. And they sectioned him. And I thought they'd give him something to calm him down and he'd come home, but he never came home after that.
Sue Bird there, talking about what happened to her husband, Kevin. Rob Young spoke to Natalie Perks, who told him more about the symptoms of the footballers affected by the medical condition.
Well, this has been described to me as the long goodbye for Sue and so many others, watching their husbands and father deteriorate to such a state that in Kevin's case, by the end, he was entirely non-verbal. He was wearing a nappy, unable to function when he died last year, age 70. Now, CTE starts initially in the frontal lobes of the brain, which control personality, emotions and impulsivity, and then it spreads to the rest of the brain where memories live. So it's those little behavioural changes that families notice at first. Sue described, for example, how Kevin would put things on his head. And then it progresses. So previously really easygoing people become withdrawn or snappy. And in a lot of the cases, we're talking about very physically fit and strong former athletes. So when they do become aggressive, it's terrifying for their families.
And so do we know what age this damage was done, when things become apparent?
So in most cases, experts think it's all done in their late teens and early 20s, but they only start to see the problems, of course, decades later. And because CTE can actually only conclusively be diagnosed after death from opening up the brain, it's perceived currently as something that happens to older people, but actually the damage looks likely to have happened much earlier in life.
And so what evidence is there that heading a ball, that impact, can cause brain injuries?
This is still an area that is being looked at, but experts tell us they're seeing CTE show up time and time again in the brains of those who've played contact sports. It's a huge problem in American football, for example. And last week I was looking at slides of brains with CTE, and the best way I can describe it is it's a very distinctive form of pathology where certain proteins deposit in the brain as brown splotches, often clustered around small blood vessels, which sets it apart from what we see in other dementia. And in many cases, people will get a diagnosis of dementia or Alzheimer's, but often the doctors don't explore whether they've played contact sports, and they're reluctant to diagnose potential CTE while the patient is still alive. Here's the expert who examines former athletes' brains, Professor Willie Stewart.
We try to prove ourselves wrong, so we keep trying to find other reasons why this might happen. And despite our best efforts, all our attempts to try and find other reasons fail. We keep coming back to it is something to do with the sport. It is repetitive head impact.
Now, in the case of Bill Gates, a former player for Middlesbrough, he actually never headed a ball again after his 29th birthday, yet he died with CTE last year, aged 79. Now, his wife Judith set up the Head Safe Football charity to protect future players, and for her now, it's really key that future generations understand the risks and don't just think it's an old man problem or an old leather ball problem. Modern balls actually weigh the same when dry as the old balls, but they travel at faster speeds. She described it to me as a ticking time bomb that she's desperate to change for youngsters.
CTE is brutal. I would like to have a national slogan that says think head safe, reduce heading in training. I hope that Bill's legacy from our journey will be saving every kid who plays football in a cobbled back street.
Judith Gates, what have the Football Authority said to you then about what they make of this growing body of evidence?
Well, they're actually doing a fair amount in this area, and for the last couple of years they've been trialling a heading ban for kids, which now means that from this season on there'll be no deliberate heading in under-9s football, leading up to a total ban in under-11s by the start of the 2026 season. The FA also says it's investing in multiple projects to gain a greater understanding of CTE through objective, robust and thorough research. But in fact, its own studies from last year back up previous research, which showed that footballers are 3.5 times more likely to suffer neurodegenerative diseases than the average person.
Natalie Perks. Next to Italy.
In the Australian Open tennis, there was an upset in the women's final, with the American Madison Keys beating the world number one Aryna Sabalenka. However, For those watching on YouTube, the action on court may have looked rather different. Tennis Australia has been running a free live stream where players appear as animated versions of themselves, a few seconds behind real time. The idea is to introduce new, younger viewers to the sport. There are a few notable differences. The tennis balls are unusually large, players' heads are out of proportion, and their rackets sometimes drift away from their hands. Marker Reid from Tennis Australia told the BBC's Owen Bennett-Jones how the animated stream works.
There's 12 cameras around each court at the Australian Open. They're tracking the players and the balls in real time. They're actually tracking 27 points on the player's skeleton and 5 points on the racket. And then we wrap an avatar over the top of that and allow the game to be replayed, if you like, but we're essentially describing or mimicking the exact same movements that the players are carrying out on court.
If it's not live, it's sort of just a few seconds after live.
That's right. It's as close as it can be. We're ingesting the data in less than 250 milliseconds and trying to push it out as quickly as we possibly can. We've been blown away by the interest globally. So I think this year compared to last, we're up 5 times on where we were last year. And so much so that broadcasters around the world have actually asked for us to pause it on our own YouTube channel in their region so they can pick it up themselves and present it to their audience. And as we know, there's many individuals out there in the world, many fans of sport that have grown up in an animated reality, if you like. They've grown up enjoying gaming as a vertical and they enjoy being part of the community. So by watching on the YouTube channel, they're able to see the animated reality as well as engage in a chat forum where they're part of that community following the sport.
Well, you're obviously a genius, but I have to say, is this a good thing?
I think absolutely. Anytime that we can present an opportunity to engage fans in a deeper, more personalised way for them, it can only be a positive.
Marker Reid from Tennis Australia. And that is... This is the sound of pure relaxation. Water hitting the hot stones of a traditional sauna. In Nordic countries, outdoor saunas, often complete with ice-cold plunge pools, are seen as essential to physical and emotional well-being and date back thousands of years. But amid the stresses of 21st century life, they've grown in popularity elsewhere in the world. Here in the UK, the number has more than trebled in the past couple of years. Liz Watson, who runs a sauna on a beach in southern England, interviewed some of her regulars for the BBC.
It's a little bit of an escape out of my week, and it's nice to have something just down the road that feels like you're completely sort of back into the nature. You know, being out here at any time of day, you've got the fire, you've got the saunas, you've got the hot, the cold, and it just makes you feel alive.
Almost like a moment of I think it's like mindfulness.
Just to just switch off, especially in the silent one.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You're just getting into a nice bath.
Ooh.
I've been coming now for about a year and I'm sort of making it sort of a weekly thing and it just totally sorts my head out. I mean, I've got a very stressful job and it's just time to come and sort of just reflect.
Liz also spoke to my colleague Johnny Diamond.
Been nicely sort of tucked away, and as you arrive there's a little sort of wooden fence in a circle, and then you see a sort of corral of saunas and horse trailers that are converted into saunas, some that have been built from scratch, and little changing rooms and a fire pit in the middle and 3 sort of plunge pool areas. So yeah, it's interesting.
It's a whole community you've got there.
Yeah, it really is.
What is it about outdoor saunas? I suspect a fair few listeners may sort of know of the sort of slightly smelly sauna that's at the back of the changing room in the squash courts or something like that. Outdoor saunas are rather different though, aren't they?
As you said, the gym sauna is often filled with chlorine gas and you can't put water on the rocks. The spa sauna is often the same. It's sort of next to the pool and it's like a little dry box and you're sitting in there saying, right, what am I meant to be doing now? You go to an outdoor sauna, often got a fantastic view. You're getting lungfuls of oxygen. And then as you come out, your body's steaming and you're embracing all the elements. It doesn't matter whether it's raining, snowing, windy, or almost the worse the weather, the better it is.
The critical question, I'm sure, for a fair few listeners will be, do you need to be naked in the sauna?
Aha, depends if you're German or not, really.
Well, we're not.
Well, I had a naked event hosted by a German. For Germans, it's disgusting to be in a sauna with a costume on because you're not allowing your body to sweat enough. We're just a little bit more prudish here still, and we're perfectly comfortable with you coming in with everything covered up, unless it's a designated event. But yeah.
OK, Liz Watson, all power to your sauna. Thank you so much for joining us. In the interest of balance, I should say that...
From New York. Now to controversy in the world of running after a TikTok influencer claimed that some runners are paying so-called mules to run for them and log it on the fitness app Strava. It tracks physical exercise on a map along with times for other followers to view online. Now, I have heard of this kind of thing if staying fit gets you a better deal on health insurance, but I haven't heard of it just to get extra kudos on Strava. Isabella Jewell has the story.
I have to confess that for over a year now, I have been a Strava mule.
If you're not part of the RunTok community, you may be wondering what on earth fitness influencer Veljko is talking about. The TikToker, complete with 1980s mullet and moustache, has gained an online following, posting videos about his training schedule. Now, though, he's fessed up to making a quick buck by running on behalf of other people for cash.
So basically, somebody will pay me to run a race with their Strava account on my phone. Sometimes they give me their phones. If I'm being honest, I'm willing to do anything for the right price.
The so-called Strava mules, jockeys or surrogates seem to be advertising their services worldwide, with one social media account based in the UK providing a global network of athletes who charge the equivalent of 33 cents per kilometre of running and 13 cents for cycling. Hardly a fortune, but if you run with several people's devices at once, the fees can add up. But why would anyone pay for such a service? For some, it's part of a wider prank on their friends and followers. That's according to running influencer Veljko.
Today's actually a slow mule day. This is a guy who's probably going to run a 2:40 marathon, but he keeps posting slow times. So then when he does run the marathon, his friends will be like, "What? No way, that's impossible."
But for others, the reason is more simple. In a world where we present our best sides on social media, why not try and convince your followers that you're a better runner than you really are?
The majority of the clients are just one-off muling experiences. They just want the glory for one day, one Instagram story.
Is it really so different to a slightly photoshopped holiday pic or flattering filter? Or is it a worrying new trend aimed at deceiving those around you?
Certain clients prefer to give me their phone and they want me to go the extra distance of even like messaging their spouse, send them a picture of Central Park, send them a screenshot of the run and be like, "Be home soon, honey."
Well, the RunTok community is pretty bemused by the trend, like this Australian user.
I don't know how I got on this side of TikTok, but can someone please explain to me why someone would want a Strava mule? What?
For Soph J Fitness, an influencer based in the UK, it's just unsustainable.
Crazy the lengths people go to keep up these fake appearances. Also, that's so embarrassing if then your friend asks you off the cuff to go for a run with them and you can't keep up.
It seems that some people will do anything for kudos. So what happens now that the lid's been lifted on this inventive new social media phenomenon?
Isabella Jewell reporting.
New York. In our previous podcast, we reported on a new global study that's found that children's eyesight is getting worse, with 1 in 3 now nearsighted. In China, the communist authorities have unveiled a plan to address that issue and at the same time tackle the problem of obesity that affects 1 in 5 Chinese children, as well as improve children's mental health. The Chinese government says school children should spend at least 2 hours a day doing physical activity, some of it outdoors. I heard more about the plan and reaction to it from our China media analyst Kerry Allen.
So real problems with young Chinese students sitting for long periods of time, eating junk food and developing eye problems. The idea is that this new rule will ensure that students can get outside, get some sunshine, talk with one another more, and it's also good for their mental well-being.
Do they not get enough outside activity at the moment then?
They don't, not really. So normally there are breaks in between classes that are very, very short. When I lived in China, I worked at a school for a period of time, and a lot of students find that it's very, very difficult to find somewhere to have a little space to play before having to rush back in.
Yeah, so it sounds like they'll have to make some considerable changes then.
Yes, and that's one of the concerns on Chinese social media platforms today. So a lot of people on the platform Weibo, which is China's equivalent of a platform like Facebook or X, they're saying that unless there are regulations that ensure schools have to do this, they think that it won't happen. But there are some who think these have been big problems, especially since the COVID-19 pandemic, when students were remote studying for a long period of time. They were in their homes, not moving, in front of computer screens for 8 hours a day. They can see the benefits in this, and they're hoping that it could provide benefits to young Chinese children.
Yeah, I mean, the benefits of physical activity are well known. Why didn't they think about something like this before?
Well, there's a lot to get in Chinese schools. So in primary schools in particular, students learn Mandarin, they learn literature, maths, English. The Communist Party rhetoric is also integrated into classes. So students have, for example, classes in moral education, and PE is also included. But PE is not something that has been given a high priority for a long period of time. There are concerns that students who spend a lot of time in PE, it might not amount to much career-wise. But in light of these growing health problems amongst young Chinese children, it's now something that the government seems keen to prioritise.
Kerry Allen. And still to come on the Global News podcast.
These people are used to seeing death, but not on that scale and not like that. And whatever the figures show you, the experience for them was indescribable.
Emotional testimony at the UK COVID inquiry. Advances in technology mean more people have devices that offer rewards for meeting fitness goals. It's called gamification, basically turning exercise into a video game. More companies are taking up this approach as they try to win a share of the $100 billion global fitness market. But are trackers and leaderboards a positive step? Sean Alsop has been investigating.
Growing up, I used to play a lot of video games which incorporated elements of physical exercise, like the iToy for the Sony PlayStation, or Wii Sports and Wii Fit for the Nintendo Wii. They were marketed as games first and foremost, but now, more people have gamification methods built into their fitness routines everywhere. I spoke with Falaz Assembler, professor at the Near East University in Cyprus.
The use of gamification in the fitness sector started with the 2000s. However, with the technological advancements, gamification has become more sophisticated and integrated in particular smart devices.
A report by the media company Business of Apps indicates that 326 million people around the world use fitness apps, with 224 million using smartwatches, which made gamification in fitness more accessible.
22, right? Yeah, right, 22.
I'm in the UK, in a gym called Dig Me, about to take part in my first spin class. And what makes his sessions different is that he uses the latest technology to add gamification to the classes, with tracking progress, level up difficulty mechanics, and achievements by high scores.
The key is to make it as entertaining as possible for 60 minutes, so it's not just a bore fest of going do-do-do-do-do-do. You've got to try and get a little bit of light and shade in there. It is, at the end of the day, an entertainment. People are paying, they want some sort of show.
I'm going to return to the gym later. In the meantime, I wanted to see how home workouts have changed. In the 1980s, home fitness exploded in popularity, with workout videos, exercise channels, and affordable home equipment, all contributing to a new form of exercise that today is worth nearly $12 billion, according to the research company Fortune Business Insights. The fitness videos are now fitness streaming services like Peloton. They're a company that make equipment like stationary bikes and treadmills, and have online classes available on subscription. The Senior Vice President of Product, Brent Tereski.
Since the first days at Peloton, we've had the idea of a leaderboard showing you people with yourself. When you get started, we start tracking how many days in a row that you worked out. That notion of streaks really mattered to some members, where Their personal identity says, I'm a fit person and I'm going to maintain my weekly workout streak. When the smartphone came out and people started getting notifications, we'll add notifications into our experiences to help people achieve their fitness goals.
Back at Digme Gym in the UK, my spin class is nearly finished.
Here's the results. On bronze, James, silver, Rebecca, gold for Eleanor. Where's Eleanor?
It was pretty intense, but I had fun. The scores are read out at the end, there's a leaderboard, and some people have gotten their points, some people have leveled up. I've not got many points, but it's my first time and I'm a swimmer, not a cyclist.
Sean Alsop reporting. And you can hear more stories like that by searching for Business Daily wherever you get your BBC podcasts.
Years, with some athletes risking their health and reputations to cheat and win a medal. Now, the Enhanced Games wants to change that and actually bring doping out into the open. So what's the vision here? Dr. Aaron D'Souza founded the competition.
I think for a few years there will be a world of natural sport run by the Olympics and a world of enhanced sport run by us. But ultimately, world records matter. As human beings, we're only interested in seeing the fastest humans. We want to see the very best of our species. And we're not interested in the best amateur, right, or the best pro. We're actually just interested in the best.
Our reporter Reagan Morris told us more.
It's essentially the Olympics on steroids. The organizers are saying that this is something so many athletes cheat, and then we find out years later that they were caught doping or their medals weren't there, or if somebody who's a silver medalist suspects that the gold medalist in fact was doping. They want to bring it out in the open. They want to do the performance enhancing games where steroids are common. So you don't have to use doping drugs to compete, but I believe most people will. And they unveiled this at a resort on the Las Vegas Strip where they're going to hold their first events. It's going to be swimming and sprinting and weightlifting are the first 3 events, and they pay big money. If you break a world record using steroids, you can make $1 million. And as proof, they brought out a swimmer today who just broke the 50-meter freestyle record using enhancements. And it's Christian Golomev. He's a Greek swimmer who came in 5th in Paris. And now they're working with him, and they say he broke the record by enhancing his natural capabilities, which weren't enough to win clean. So the athletes, if they do choose to compete, they will be making potentially a lot of money, but they might have their Olympic dreams dashed. It's not clear if they can go back to other sporting events. The U.S. Anti-Doping Agency has called this clown car, said it's not a real sport, and it's been vilified across sporting agencies and dismissed as not a good idea. And Lord Coe, of the World Athletic Association, said if you do compete in these games and you dope, you will be banned from other official events.
Reagan Morris.
Podcasts. Now something rather different, and given they spend their time kicking a ball around a muddy field, there's long been a cliché that footballers are a bit thick, i.e. lacking in intelligence. But a new study of professional players in Brazil and Sweden suggests the opposite is the case. They're actually smarter than the average person. Alfie Habershon reports.
You don't have to be a genius to run around and kick a ball. As the German manager Hans Meyer once said, in every squad there are 5 really stupid players. One of them would absolutely live under a bridge if he didn't play football. And when players do get in front of the camera, it can raise some eyebrows.
I don't have a Scooby, honestly.
Let's see. Does Jack Grealish know where he's from? No, he doesn't.
No.
That's where you are. Problem is, that's like 80 miles out.
That's the Manchester City player Jack Grealish, unable to point out where he's from on a map of the UK. But have a listen to his teammate Manuel Akanji doing some mental arithmetic and see if you can keep up.
Multiplication is what I've seen you do really well. I've got a few that I've pulled out. So, 23 times 42?
966.
I mean, there you go. What was that, a second? How about this one then? OK, 93 times 60.
5,580.
Well, a new study suggests that Akanji's quick thinking is part of a broader trend. It tested 200 professional players for different thinking skills and says they are not just smarter than the average person, but in the top 10%. Leonardo Bonetti from Oxford University is co-author of the research.
Football players had much higher executive functions, but also much higher working memory and ability of solving logical problems and planning in general.
And it's not just a few smart ones driving up the average. The study even goes as far to say that without being brainy, you wouldn't make it as a pro player.
We can essentially predict whether a football player is a football player with 97% of accuracy, suggesting that nearly all of the football players had this set of cognitive skills. It's very likely that if you don't have this set of cognitive skills, you wouldn't succeed.
As a fan myself, I've noticed that football has become more intellectual. It's hard to watch a match on TV without being confronted with pages of statistics and graphs. It's even caught the curiosity of the chess grandmaster Magnus Carlsen. Here he is speaking to the manager and former player, Pep Guardiola.
Both in chess and football, the important thing is to control the middle. If you control the middle, you control the pitch or the board. Often in chess also you attack on one side, force the opponent to overload, and then you switch. And you have an advantage on the other side.
Now, Pep, you must be impressed with the insight from Magnus there.
That's nice. It's he's right.
For the rest of us, it's a hard pill to swallow. We know that footballers tend to be stronger, richer, even better looking. Perhaps it's now time to accept they're smarter too.
And one final one. 83 times 4.
332.
Footballer and maths star Manuel Akanji, ending that report by Alfie Havisham. A Football World Cup has been taking place in Africa, this time for grannies. 20 teams took part from 7 countries. The women say football has given them a new lease of life, as the BBC's Priya Sippy reports.
Vuvuzelas and people cheering at a stadium in Limpopo, South Africa. Common sounds for a football match, but this is no ordinary tournament. This is the Soccer Grannies World Cup, where ladies aged between 55 and 85 are competing for the title. For 60-year-old Anani, football is much more than just a game.
It keeps us healthy. When I came here, I was drinking chronic tablets. But now, these days, no, I'm fit. I have a favorite player, Lionel Messi. When always I watch soccer, while he was playing, I said, if I was younger and if I was a man, I was going to do what he's doing.
5 teams from Africa, the USA and France are taking part in this 3-day tournament. Aged 56 and playing for Kenya, Gertrude is one of the youngest players in the tournament.
We are kicking this ball because of our health. This medicine without injection. I'm a stress-free woman. I have interacted with a lot of people. When you go to the field, you get ideas from other mothers. It will help you develop your home.
As well as improving their mental and physical health, these soccer grannies are also dispelling stereotypes around older women. Sinjalim is 72 years old from Togo.
Football is for everyone, including women who want to play for health. That's why we chose to play together.
Ahead of the opening match, the organizer of the tournament, 57-year-old Rebecca Nsamwisi, invited the participating teams at her house in Limpopo. She started the first Soccer Grannies team in South Africa after her doctor advised her to start exercising more. She then travelled across the continent to encourage more older women to take up the sport.
I'm so overwhelmed because I didn't expect this. It was my dream to have the World Cup. I remember that FIFA started with 4 teams and we're better. We started with 12 and we're growing almost each and every day. It means I'm better than FIFA.
These women want to see more grannies across Africa getting involved in football. For them, age is just a number.
Start exercising. And when you exercise, your muscles are becoming new. You are becoming younger and younger. I'm 16 years old now. When I'm in the ground, I feel like I'm 16 years old.
And that report by Priya Sippy.
Ice hockey was hit hard by the COVID pandemic, with empty arenas and financial losses threatening the sport's future. But 5 years on, North America's National Hockey League has come roaring back with packed stadiums and a wider fan base. In Canada, Sam Gruet looks at how the sport is about to enjoy a record-breaking season with predicted revenues of $6.6 billion.
Welcome to Game Night in Toronto, and a sport being driven by new teams, new technology, and new fans like Selena.
I am a big fan of the Professional Women's Hockey League, so I'm also really excited for that, and that starts next week as well. But definitely with the Women's League coming up, I've definitely started getting more into the Men's League because of that.
This evening's game is a Pride Night, one of many themed evenings across professional hockey, promoting diversity and inclusion.
I got my Pride socks on. I think it's absolutely great. Queer people have always been in sports, and I feel like games like this really bring out the energy and the excitement for that. Everyone's welcome. And things like tonight show that everyone is. I think that's really important.
From the stands, it's not hard to see why this fast and furious game is so popular, with big hits and late drama. But as the packed crowds make their way out of the arena, it's a visual reminder of how far the sport has come since 2020.
The NHL just announcing that they are pausing the season due to the coronavirus.
Nick Eaves saw the impact firsthand as Chief Operating Officer of NHL side, the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Every one of our revenue sources dried up. Obviously, no ticketing revenue, no food and beverage revenue. It was a terrible couple years of no revenue being generated and lost time.
4,000 kilometres west across North America, the NHL's newest franchise was taking to the ice for the first time.
And tonight, we are finally ready to open Climate Pledge Arena as the Seattle Kraken take the ice for the very first time. The national
Chief Marketing Officer Katie Townsend says the team and the league has come a long way since then.
I feel incredibly proud of the brand that we launched.
And the work off the ice has inspired new audiences to get involved in the sport too.
We have a female assistant GM, Alexandra Mandricki, who was actually the first member of our hockey ops team. And now really the kind of forefront of this is Jessica Campbell, one of our assistant coaches, who is the first female coach, but coaching behind the bench for an NHL team. And I think that's important. It's important that people see people who look like them within the world of hockey. It's important for the growth of the fan base.
It's something 22-year-old superfan Selena agrees with.
I feel like a lot more women have been looking to the game. I think it's Seattle that has their first women coach in history, and I think, that's really big. That's really showing the world that, women are part of the game.
As does Dr. Anne Peguerero, Lang Chair in Sports Management at the University of Guelph in Canada.
I think that a lot of the new money coming into sport has to do with probably the increasing ability of the NHL to demonstrate a diverse audience, both demographically in terms of age and demographically in terms of racial makeup and gender. So we've got several different factors, I think, that have all come together to bring a booming business back to the NHL.
That report by Sam Gruey.
Oi. There is only one place in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, where the temperature drops below 9 degrees Celsius. It's the ice rink, the only one in East and Central Africa. It's where the nation's ice hockey team, Kenya Ice Lions, trains every week. Despite the sport being unusual in Africa, the Ice Lions have gone from strength to strength, and after gaining membership of the International Ice Hockey Federation, they now have the chance to compete on the international stage, as Priya Sippy reports.
In a hotel in Nairobi, the Kenya Ice Lions, Kenya's first and only ice hockey team, gather round to listen to their coach talk tactics before they begin their evening training session. They are wearing red and green jerseys with a lion emblazoned on the front.
Quick warm-up. I'll tell you when we get on the ice in a second. Okay, guys? Do your north,
with
south.
only one ice rink in the whole of Central and East Africa, ice hockey is not a common sport on the African continent. In 2016, a group of expats and local hockey players came together to form the Kenya Ice Lions.
Our skill level has grown tremendously.
Benjamin Mburu is the captain of the team.
We actually won a tournament internationally. This proved to us and to everyone else that, yes, we are cut for this and we can do this.
Like many other players on the team, Benjamin was first introduced to ice hockey through playing hockey on land.
I never imagined that I could play ice hockey, especially in Kenya. You'd see it maybe on Christmas movies, that's where you see snow and ice, and it's like, well, that happens somewhere else, not in Kenya. Stepping onto the ice was so slippery. I luckily had the balance from the inline hockey, But then I couldn't control the skates. I would just go forward, make a very huge turn. It was an experience, I'd say, out of this world.
As the team get ready to go on the ice, they lace up their skates, put on their helmets and their shin pads. But just a few years ago, the team were playing with very little safety equipment.
For the longest, most of us played with just shin pads, which was the bare minimum. The other issue was hockey sticks. If a hockey stick broke, you'd have to wait another, say 3-4 months before maybe an expert would bring you one or someone leaves one behind.
Well, ice hockey on the equator is not easy, I guarantee you that.
Canadian Tim Colby coaches the Kenya Ice Lions.
Biggest challenge is ice time, right? So access to ice, it's expensive. That is one of our biggest challenges.
Through media exposure, the team caught the eye of international brands and companies who donated equipment and funds for ice time, as well as sponsoring several trips abroad, including one to Canada. Just recently, the Kenya Ice Lions were granted membership to the International Ice Hockey Federation, and that means they'll get access to more funding, more coaching, and entry into bigger tournaments.
It was, what I'd say, a dream come true for us. It was a step towards where we want to be. But then now that means we have to up our game. We have to move on to the next step.
And part of that next step involves setting up a women's ice hockey team, as well as coaching the next generation of young players, like 12-year-old Liam. Liam dreams of becoming a professional.
The coaches push you to be your best. You're playing on the ice, it just feels you forget about everything else.
Back on the ice rink in Nairobi, the Ice Lions finish up their training session. With their international ice hockey membership clinched, they are now setting their sights on their next big goal, the Winter Olympics.
Priya Sippy.
The Canadian national ice hockey team has beaten the United States in a match with unusually strong political overtones. Canada triumphed by 3-2 in the Four Nations face-off final in Boston. Peter Hyatt reports.
Ice hockey is well known for the fighting on the ice. In this tournament, most of the fighting has taken place off the ice. President Trump has infuriated Canadians by saying they should join the US as the 51st state and threatened them with crippling tariffs. Ahead of the game, he called the US team with a pep talk. The US crowd booed the Canadian national anthem, just as the Canadian crowd booed the Stars and Stripes last week. The Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, whom Mr. Trump mockingly calls Governor Trudeau, gloated afterwards, "You can't take our country and you can't take our game."
Peter Hyatt. The UK's oldest horse has celebrated her 46th birthday.
Sally Nabil. For conservationists in East Africa, protecting the region's lion population remains a constant challenge. Traditional practices like lion hunting among communities such as the Maasai have historically contributed to the problem. But change is underway. Every 2 years, in the shadow of Mount Kilimanjaro, the Maasai celebrate their warrior-like athleticism with their own Olympic Games. Ella Bicknell reports.
For the Maasai people, lions aren't just majestic animals. They're like them, strong, brave, strategic and formidable. In the past, to kill a lion was the ultimate display of maturity and widely celebrated. But by the early 2000s, when the Amboseli lion population dropped to fewer than 20, it became clear that this cultural rite of passage was no longer sustainable. The Maasai needed a new way to celebrate the athleticism of their youth, and with the Big Life Foundation, they started the Maasai Olympics, a biannual sporting event bringing together hundreds of their best athletes. The games include traditional hunting skills like throwing rungus, wooden clubs traditionally used by the community for defence against an attacking lion. There are also running races and javelin throwing, and of course the high jump. This is a tribute to the Adumu, a jumping dance, often performed during the initiation of young Maasai men into adulthood. One of this year's competitors, Stephen Masinde, who won the 5,000-metre contest.
It's important for me because everyone is looking to come here and compete. When they see others running, they want to come to train. Yeah, they become champions.
This year, a quarter of participants are female. Samuel Kanki is the game's chief coordinator. He says their inclusion is paramount.
They're Maasai warriors. Most of the time when they kill lion, they have to bring back to home to make sure they dance, to attract girlfriends. So we need also girls to participate in this. So we started to include them with 2 events, 100 meters and 1,500 meters.
And one of this year's female competitors was 19-year-old Valentine Naisamoy.
Most of the ladies, they find themselves that they are just there to be married, bring cows to the family, bring more dowry. But some events like this are enjoyable because the girls will notice their talent. After notice their talent, they'll go to work hard for it and it will help them.
The Games have emerged as a powerful alternative to ritualised lion hunting, offering the Maasai a way to celebrate their cultural heritage and athletic prowess without endangering the local wildlife. And 12 years on since the first Games, the lion population is stronger than ever. 250 now prowl the greater Amboseli.
Ella Bicknell, Aboti, Western Kenya.
Feeding cattle isn't easy work, even for an Olympic champion. But for Emmanuel Wanyonyi, it's part of who he is.
Looking after cattle as a child was tough, but I had to do it so I could eat. Sometimes I wasn't paid, but it gave me a place to sleep.
Born in Saboti village, Western Kenya, Wanyonyi was one of 11 children in a family struggling with poverty. At the age of 10, he dropped out of school to help provide for his loved ones.
When I got something small, I would take it home to my siblings so they could also have something to eat. It's the only reason I endured the job.
Aged 13, Wanyonyi returned home, and that's when he discovered his talent for running.
When I was training at one of the nearby school grounds, the teacher noticed me and told me I can run very well and get into athletics, but I will have to go back to school. When I came back to school, my dad was really happy. He would see me going to practice, and he loved that a lot.
Wanyonyi's father worked as a caretaker at a dam, but tragedy struck when he was found dead at the site in 2018, a day that lives long in Wanyonyi's mind.
My father was working, guarding water for someone to prevent people from destroying the pipes. He had never come to school before. I was in class and he made sure I was cold, and I went to the fence. He gave me about $2 and told me to go buy running shoes. It's like he was strangled and placed by the water. He was found with a mark on his head, as if he was hit. What I think happened is that he placed his clothes there to swim, and then someone came to rob him. I wish he was here to see me run. I would even push harder because of all the love he had for me.
Wanyonyi's mother, Margaret Nasimiyu, could not be more proud of her son and the way he has changed her life.
My boy told me, "Don't cry, Mom. One day I will buy you land and you will live a good life." I thought it's jokes, but God was with him. I never dreamed of living in a house like this.
That is genius.
Wanyonyi quickly rose through the athletics ranks on his way to gaining a place in the Kenyan national team. His coach Claudio Beraldelli continues to be impressed.
Something which is unique in Wanyonyi is his mental attitude. It's like he's fearless, probably because of his background. But what makes a champion to be a champion is the mental attitude, and he's a champion in his mind.
That report from BBC Sport Africa's Kelvin Kamathi.
Some people just couldn't even ignore.
Celia Hatton. Fitness trends might come and go, but this latest one has raised some eyebrows. Quadrobics is a form of exercise which involves copying the movement of animals by walking on all fours. It's also taken off as a social media trend in Russia. However, some senior politicians there have threatened to ban it. One Japanese man hopes to stop that and spread the benefits of the sport, as Edward Main reports.
I think it's utterly ridiculous for any government to think of banning quadrobics, something that has so many benefits as a sport.
That's Kenichi Ito from Japan.
He's one of the fastest humans on four limbs.
On your mark. Ready, go!
Kenichi held the Guinness World Record from 2015 to 2022 after covering 100 metres in a remarkable 15.71 seconds. Kenichi lives in Tokyo, where he's something of a celebrity. Now 42, he devotes much of his time to training and promoting quadrobics as a sport. With a wiry physique and collar-length brown hair, he was dressed in a tracksuit. Despite the poor connection, Kenichi's passion for quadrobics shone through. So how did it all begin?
I've always loved monkeys. When I went to the zoo and saw Patas monkeys running, I was struck by how agile and fast they were. I wanted to be able to run just like them. When I got home, I started researching running on four limbs on the internet. It looked like nobody had thought of doing it competitively yet. I started training and researching because I wanted to turn it into a competitive sport.
At the time, Kenichi was studying in the US.
When people asked, "Hey dude, what are you doing?" I told them that I wanted to be able to run quickly on all fours and was training for that. They'd encourage me once they learned that. Even police officers encouraged me after I explained to them what I was doing.
However, when Kenichi moved back home, he received a very different reaction.
There was a major cultural shift in the way I was perceived. People would report me to the police, or they'd avoid me on the streets.
In an effort to escape that hostility, Kenichi headed for the countryside.
I went to go and stay with a friend who was a monk, as he owned a hut in the mountains. I thought I'd be able to roam around freely on all fours, 24/7.
However, this almost proved fatal when a hunter mistook Kenichi for a wild boar.
One day, when I was going about my business on all fours, I heard a loud rustling noise in the distance. And when I looked up, I could see the muzzle of a gun pointed at me. I sprang up and yelled, "I'm human!"
Kenichi rejects claims by Russian officials that quadrobics has a negative effect on young people. And Kenichi has this message.
Quadrobics is such a beautiful thing that shouldn't be stopped by any government. I want you to be able to keep doing the quadrobics that you love despite all this.
We passed on Kenichi's message to Maria, the teenage quadrober from Moscow.
I would answer thank you very much for your support and such words. I think this will be very important for many. I would like all quadrobers to hear those words.
In the last couple of months, the outcry about quadrobics appears to have quietened down a bit. A ban has yet to materialise.
And you can hear more on this story from BBC Trending, wherever you get your podcasts from.
Bicknell. Now for this great sporting moment.
Oh, he's got him with the right hand. He's got him. Oh, my God, he's won the title back. Ali is heavyweight champion of the world at 32 in the 8th round by a knockout.
It's 50 years since the boxer Muhammad Ali beat George Foreman in what became known as the Rumble in the Jungle. The fight took place on the 30th of October 1974 in Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo. Muhammad Ali biographer Thomas Hauser said it helped build the boxer's legacy.
He said on numerous occasions to me that he was at his best as a fighter when he was young. That the fight that was the best for fans was the Thrilla in Manila, but the fight that meant the most to him was regaining the heavyweight championship of the world against George Foreman in Zaire. We're not talking about the Rumble in the Jungle now because it was just a fist fight. It was Muhammad Ali. And this was one of the important cornerstones of his legend.
Well, Muhammad Ali has, of course, since died, but Andrew Peach spoke to the man in the other corner of the boxing ring at the time, George Foreman, who was the favourite to beat Ali in the fight. But how did he feel going into it?
I had walked through the contendership, and I'd beaten the best one in boxing, Joe Frazier. Then I backtracked and beat all the guys who had beaten Muhammad Ali, so all the reporters and the experts said, oh, he's not going to last one round with George Foreman. But of course, other things came to play, like that fast right hand from Muhammad Ali.
Did you go into it utterly confident, as all the journalists and fans were, that he had no chance against you?
I had always been real nervous, butterflies before boxing matches. But for the first time in my boxing career, I was in Africa, didn't have any butterflies, was not afraid, and it was probably the most comfortable I'd felt before a boxing match that night.
So when you heard Muhammad Ali talking the talk and saying he was going to beat you, you thought he'd got no chance?
He didn't say a word to me. His talk was to the media that went across the world. So a lot of things went on, and I never heard him boast at all until seconds before the boxing match when we came to the center to be introduced by the referee.
And did you have any exchange of words at that point?
Yes, he looked at me and looked like he was trying to psych me out because I stared at him with a fierceness. He said, "George, you don't have business in here with me. You were in high school when I won the championship of the world." And I almost burst out laughing because I never saw a day in high school in my life. Somebody told him wrong.
Once you're in the ring with him, did it feel like it started well from your point of view? Did it feel like it was going the way you expected?
Yeah, one punch led to another punch. I never had to defend myself in the ring.
And what was he saying to you during the fight? Because those of us who've seen it can see that he's talking to you. What was he saying, if you remember?
I remember one frightening moment, could have been about the 6th or 7th round. I hit him so hard, he said, "That all you got, George?" I remember that.
And how did you feel at that moment?
I wanted to tell him, "Yep, that's all I got." And of course I kept hitting him, but I'd run out of gas.
Tell me about the rope-a-dope thing, because no one had done that before. Could you work out what this strategy was that he was basically making up during the match?
Well, my thing was to corner a guy, cut the ring off, and then batter him up. And a couple of times he tried to move, and it wasn't there for him. I cornered him and just started hammering him. And it must have been about the last or third round. I wailed on him, and the bell rang, and he looked at me and looked as if to say, "I made it, I made it." And I looked at him and said, "He made it, he made it." That was a surprise and turning point in that fight. I don't know how he made it.
Tell me about the end of the fight.
Well, swiftly, I kept following him around, trying to knock him out. He slipped, and when I missed him, he slipped and hit me with a 1-2. The most fast right hand I'd ever not seen, if you know what I mean. He hit me, and that right hand wasn't powerful. It wasn't anything but so fast. And there I was tumbling down like a tree and waiting for the ref to count. I jumped up, the fight was over. The man was fast, and I heard about his speed, and I kind of laughed about that, but he threw that right hand lightning fast.
It's 50 years ago, George. How do you think about it now, reflecting on that moment, probably the greatest moment in Muhammad Ali's career? How does it feel to you to be retelling the story to me now?
You know, I'm glad because I was there that people can talk with me about it 50 years later, not hear a third-hand report. And I'm still alive to talk about it. It turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. I became an evangelist, preaching on the street corners, and nobody knew me. I'd cut my hair, had overalls on, and people wouldn't stop. And then one day I decided, yes, this is George Foreman. I fought Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, and people started to stop.
The boxer George Foreman.
Now, here's a story that sounds like the plot of a Hollywood movie. Cambodia, located near the equator, is known for its hot and humid tropical climate. But for the first time, it sent a delegation of snowboarders, yes, snowboarders, to the Asian Winter Games in China. The 4 men made their debut at the Yabuli ski resort. Not only that, but it was their first time in a freezing climate, as Stephanie Prentice has been finding out.
Some people say, them can't believe. Jamaica, we have a bobsled team.
The 90s hit movie Cool Runnings won over audiences all around the world with its unlikely tale of an inexperienced Jamaican bobsled team competing in the Winter Olympics. It was based on a true story, and now a similar tale has unfolded in last week's Asian Winter Games. 4 men from Cambodia headed to frosty northern China to compete with athletes from 34 countries and regions across Asia after recently learning to snowboard and with very little experience of cold weather.
It's like minus 2022, so it's a little bit different. Oh no, completely different.
After mastering the art of strapping their bindings into the board, they were seen weaving confidently, if slowly, down the slopes as part of the men's slopestyle competition and mixing with the other competitors in the athletes' village.
We will just go there to share the connection with other people like from the outside country. I just feel happy that I have the opportunity to come here.
Just like the team in Cool Runnings, they didn't take home any medals, but also just like them, they left with happy memories and a vow to return again and win by putting love into it.
I would love to train about winter sport, learn some
more skill,
more style, learn some new trick.
Put everything that we can.
We would love to try everything, yeah.
Good luck, guys. That report was by Stephanie Print.
In Nepal. The haka is a traditional dance first performed by New Zealand's indigenous Maori community and often associated with its rugby team. But for the past 10 years, it's been France which has held the title for the largest haka ever performed. Now New Zealand has reclaimed the world record with 6,000 people taking part. Performers travelled from across the country to participate with celebrity guests including director Taika Waititi and the American television presenter Conan O'Brien. Mickey Bristow reports.
This is the men's rugby team from New Zealand, who are famous for their enthusiastic performances of the haka before a match. For the Maoris, though, it was a traditional way to welcome a visiting tribe and to inspire warriors going out to battle. Perhaps surprisingly, the previous world record was held by France, who did the haka with 4,000 people. New Zealand have now taken back the crown with a crowd of men, women and children at a stadium in Auckland. Their haka wasn't always coordinated, but they nevertheless chanted to the rhythmic movement of arms and legs. And this being the haka, they occasionally pulled frightening faces. The record was confirmed by a man from the Guinness World Records.
While the official number is still being counted because it's a large number, I can safely say that you have surpassed the record to beat. Officially amazing!
Initial estimates suggested there had been 6,000 doing this particular haka. The organisers said it had been a matter of national pride that the record for a New Zealand tradition should be held by New Zealand.
Mickey Bristow. Can dog.
It was in 1904 that a pistol was first fired to start an Olympic race. Since then, that sound of a gunshot's been used at track events around the world. But of course, gunshots have other associations for some people. There are countless stories of war veterans having very serious reactions to the sound of a gun being fired. And some of those veterans might well be involved in sporting competition. That's particularly likely in Ukraine, where so many men of fighting age have been sent to the front. For that reason, at the Kyiv Marathon last weekend, there was an alternative sound used to tell the runners when to start. Well, that sound was created by Gus Covand, a sound designer from Los Angeles. He told James Kumarasamy what motivated him to make it.
I do have a daughter who has special needs, and she has sensitivities to loud sounds, as do a lot of her friends. So when I was told about this sound, I immediately jumped at it because it has so much meaning for me.
So how did you approach this?
Well, we didn't start with a blank slate. There were a series of requirements So the sound needed to be clear, it needed to do a lot of the things that a pistol shot would do, but without traumatizing people. In this marathon in particular, you have a lot of war veterans. They had people in wheelchairs and people who were neurodiverse. And so it needed to be an exciting sound, but it needed to also have the components that one would need to have at the beginning of a race, right? Where you have a really loud burst that everybody can hear and that it's crystal clear.
And how did you test out different versions to work out whether people could hear it, whether it had the effect of actually getting them to start running?
So we ended up making probably close to 50 sounds. And then we narrowed those sounds down to 4 or 5 sounds that were then tested at a university in Kyiv on people who were war veterans, some of whom were suffering from PTSD. And the sound that was eventually selected was the sound that met all the criteria, but also caused the least amount of trauma.
And beyond countries like Ukraine, where, as you say, people are traumatized by war, are there any other places where you think this could replace the old gunshot?
I hope so. I mean, I'm a runner myself, and you're there on the starting line, right? You've taken your gels, you've drunk your electrolytes, you're ready to go, and then there's this sound that all of a sudden stresses you out as you're about to start. I feel like there's a place for replacing the pistol sound everywhere. I mean, certainly here in the U.S., we have a lot of gun violence, so I think it's not just war; it's everywhere.
Gus Coven. There's been an outpouring of sadness on social media in China after the death of a British man who'd become an unexpected online sensation. Keith Brown went viral after his Chinese wife started filming him making what many considered to be rather unexciting sandwiches. Our China correspondent Stephen McDonnell reports from Beijing.
It's a tomato sandwich.
Just a tomato sandwich.
That's Keith Brown, or Old Dry Keith, as he became affectionately known in China by more than 1 million followers who took pity on him for what they thought was the hilariously bland nature of his sandwiches.
I like very much.
His Chinese wife Zhang started filming him making lunch for a bit of fun and posting the videos on China's version of TikTok, Douyin. As it turned out, viewers became fascinated not only by Keith's basic diet, but also his gentle, accepting philosophy on life. Sadly, though, they were told this week that Old Dry Keith had died from bone cancer. He wasn't able to travel to China recently as he'd planned, but he leaves behind an army of friends here who never had a chance to meet him.
Stephen McDonnell.
Next to tennis, and the organisers of Wimbledon have announced there will be no line judges at next year's championships in London. The people who call out or fault are being phased out because the tournament is adopting fully electronic line calling, which is already used by other top-tier international tournaments. But, as our tennis correspondent Russell Fuller reports, there might just be a little less drama.
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious! That ball was on the line. Chalk flew up.
The linesman called a fault because the ball was on this side of the court.
The chalk came on, it doesn't matter.
No, the very fact that there is a spread of chalk, as you can see, Mr. McEnroe.
A line judge's decision has caused players more even-tempered than John McEnroe much frustration over the years, and most will welcome the greater accuracy and consistency this decision will bring. As one umpire put it, machines do not feel the pressure at 5 games all in the final set. But many spectators will miss the sight of the officials dressed in pinstripe shirts and white trousers or a skirt, leaning forward to get the best view of a 130 miles per hour serve. Kay Noble has been one of them at 11 championships and had been expecting the decision.
It's bittersweet. It's going to sting for some of us, especially those that have been doing this for many, many years. But personally, I've enjoyed every single day that I got to officiate at Wimbledon. I've got some fantastic memories.
The All England Club's chief executive Sally Bolton has thanked the officials for the central role they have played in the championship's history, while acknowledging the sport is heading in a different direction. The men's ATP Tour will be using electronic line calling at all its events from January, and both the Australian Open and the US Open operate without line judges. But some worry where future chair umpires will come from. Many cut their teeth as line judges. Will fewer choose that path now the carrot of an appearance at Wimbledon has been removed?
Russell Fuller.